Hi, my name is Stephanie Anderson. I am an ENL teacher for 5th and 6th grade at an intermediate school on the east side of Indy. I have been teaching for about 7 years overseas, so this is my first year teaching back in the States. For the green chapter, this was one of the quotes that I really liked. Learners may know a good deal about language, but be unable to access the words or phrases they know in the course of a conversation or be unable to pronounce them accurately. I think this is often really true. We see this a lot in our students just trying to search their brain for how they want to say something or where it is, and it's very true even in me trying to learn another language. I've kind of experienced that as well. In the brown text, I really like this one. For optimal learning to take place, students in the classroom must have the freedom to experiment, to try out their own hypothesis about language without feeling their overall competence is judged in terms of those trials and errors. I like this, and it goes on later to talk about the tennis player and how they need that non-pressure environment to kind of try out their skills before they actually do it in a tournament. I like that same idea and thinking about our students as well, that they need that time to kind of play around with the language and to make mistakes and to be corrected in a very nice, soft way, if that makes sense. So to kind of put those two together, why I kind of connected them, students need to have that time to be able to make mistakes and to be able to work with a language. I believe that memorization and repetition is just a small piece of learning a language. It's important, but I don't think it's the end all be all of how they're going to learn. So they will need to kind of struggle a bit and to learn how to problem solve. And when students are faced with conversations with their peers, they're being tested to find a way to communicate, and it's typically in a safe space without the pressure of assessments. I think for kind of those informal assessments, these are the ones that you're not typically taking a grade on, but you might be keeping anecdotal records for. You're going to just be able to refer back to that whenever you're thinking about this student and what they might still need. And I think some of the one thing that we don't really think about a lot is kind of like that rec time and free time. It's something that I've really kind of tried to utilize whenever my students are with me, that I can just kind of have conversations with them. I taught kindergarten for a long time, so those center activities and those physical activities that incorporate learning are also very important. And then this past year, I kind of tried to work with Flipgrid for some of my students to kind of get them ready for their speaking for the WIDA test. These formal assessments, I believe that there needs to be a clear expectation to students what you expect. So there needs to be some kind of rubric or study guide that they know, okay, this is what it's going to be. So if I'm going to give a speech or presentation, I'm going to give them requirements of what they need to hit, what they need to do. And then obviously there's regular weekly assessments to see where a student is at and what we might need to reteach or what we can build upon on the next part. Those formative assessments, I would say, are like those group projects. I would really like to do in the future at some point like a science journal or daily journal. Also, pop quizzes, exit tickets, some kind of short answer survey. These things are, again, just to kind of build upon and see where a student is at, what I need to reteach, where I need to keep going with them. But then these are the big mamma jammas, I guess you could call them, these summative assessments. Then WIDA, I'm doing WIDA testing currently, and so WIDA is definitely on my mind. But I also feel like, those big presentations that might build on the year's materials or a portfolio or something that might incorporate a lot more than just a test that would be over just one unit or one chapter. So the question that I have from the green text, on page 10, he kind of talks about how people and researchers are still debating about how people learn a second language, and it's still not very well understood. And I guess I'm just kind of, my own curious mind is just, well, what are these discrepancies? What are they debating about in pertaining to how students learn? Is it a matter of when they learn? Is it a matter of how? I guess it's just my own curiosity. And so maybe they'll talk about it more in the text. Or maybe I just need to go back and read the different researchers. But I guess it wasn't something that I'd ever heard, that there was some big debate between researchers about how people learn a second language. So I was just intrigued. Um, and then from the Brown text, um, they discuss a lot about different assessments, and they discuss, they do discuss about the piece of speaking, reading, writing, and listening, and how these all four are very important. And um, again, going back to that WIDA, since it's on my mind, the speaking part is kind of that part that is just, I feel like, not forgotten, but it's I don't feel like we're assessing it well, especially in the WIDA test. And I just kind of feel like, shouldn't conversation be just as valued as other aspects, or for learning English? I don't know. I guess that's kind of my missing piece for me that I'm struggling with. I mean, they talked a little bit about technology and how that's kind of hurting it on page 22, and then 18 through 19 to talk about those like task-based assessments. Yeah, I guess I feel like we're giving our students a disservice, because I feel like the conversation is that main piece that's kind of going to help build on how our students understand reading and writing and everything else. And I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it's where it needs to be currently. So that's just kind of my thought on the matter and thinking about all of this.